Radha. So happy Ratha-yatra. Ratha-yatra is going on in so many places. Today they're having a beautiful Ratha-yatra in Toronto. So I've been thinking a lot about Ratha-yatra the last few days. Ratha-yatra was just in Puri. It concluded July 5th, sorry. So today we'll speak about Ratha-yatra and accompanying topics. Yesterday we talked about whether we agree or disagree if Krishna should have left Vrindavan or not. We tried to give all the arguments for why it was good that he left. But in the end we sided with the Swapaksha, that means those partial to Srimati Radhika, and said, whatever the reasons are or were, we don't agree. We gave good arguments why it was needed or necessary. But today we want to think back a little bit about the sweetness of Krishna and the soft-hearted nature of Krishna. And to not put fault or blame upon him. That would be nice, yeah? Krishna is very, very soft. His heart is so soft. That's why his favorite food is butter. What is that? Why is that? Because, we like what we are like. Madhav likes sweets because he's very sweet. Right? We like what we are like. So Krishna loves butter because his heart is soft like butter. And what is the nature of butter? Like this weather here. If you put butter out in the sun, what's going to happen to it? It's going to become a river of butter. It's going to melt or become a lake. It's going to melt. So Krishna's heart is very, very, very soft. Softer than anything you can imagine. In this world, our gurus say, actually, people are very hard-hearted. So we cannot understand how soft Krishna's heart is. And therefore, we do not blame Krishna. We blame the nature of this world that is hard-hearted and cruel. We blame fate, cruel destiny that separates lover and beloved. But at least at this moment, we're trying not to blame Krishna. It's very soft-hearted. Very, very, very soft-hearted. You see this from Krishna's childhood. Wherever anyone has desire for that loving relationship with him, he will reciprocate. This is because of his soft-hearted nature. Anyone. What to speak of a human being? We see this with the elephant Gajendra. When he's calling out to Krishna in devotion for help, Krishna immediately came and protected him and saved him. So Krishna is very soft-hearted. So when Krishna was in Vrindavan, when Krishna danced with the gopis in the Ras Leela, they thought this would last forever. They had been waiting for this moment forever. So before I forget this point, I want to say, whether we agree or not that Krishna should leave Vrindavan or had to leave Vrindavan, at least we can agree on one thing, which is separation is not good. Separation is suffering. No soul should have to be separated from God. This is the source of all suffering. Separation. The separation between lover and beloved, and the highest form, you could say the ontological source of that, the highest form of divine romance, which is between the soul and God. There should never have to be separation. Separation is not good. We can agree on this. But at the same time, it's said that if you think of love as a river, that river has two banks. One bank or one side is meeting, and one side is separation. sometimes there's this beautiful dynamic called meeting and separation, which is when your love becomes so intense in separation. Your consciousness is so absorbed in your beloved that it's like a flood. And the water rises over the banks, and now there's no more bank of meeting and banking of separation. There's just the divine madness of inconceivable love. And that divine madness of inconceivable love in every moment is a very prominent aspect of our faith. It's encoded in the mantra we chant every day. When we talk about Krishna consciousness, that's almost synonymous with chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. And that Hare Krishna mantra is what? Meeting and separation. And so we are serving that dynamic. But we can agree that separation is not good. Our Gurudev would say, Yugala milan sukirakaran jivana charite pare. Separation is not good. So much so that I'd give up my life to bring the divine couple together. Separation is not good. But there's an issue. There's a complication in the relationship. And what is that? No soul should be separated from God. It's the source of all suffering. And yet, God loves all souls. Every soul only loves God in different forms, but really, the source of all love is love of God. So because Krishna's heart is so soft, anywhere any devotee calls to him, he must go. So Krishna was absorbed in the love of Vrindavan, which is the highest possible love. And yet, outside of Vrindavan, so many souls were suffering and praying to him and crying for him. I'll give you a different example, but our Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Swami Maharaj, he was living in Mathura, as we talked about last night. But hearts were crying for him. He said when he came to New Braj, Badger, California, I came only because there were hearts crying. And I heard these hearts crying for 20 years. From the time of the departure of Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, his disciples were crying, where is our Prabhupada? Where is our Prabhupada? And he said their cries became so intense that I had to come and help them find again Prabhupada, now in his unmanifest form in Vrindavan. Gurudev said, I came because hearts were crying. But everyone in Mathura, when Gurudev left, they were crying. Gurudev was there for, at that point already, like 40 years, 42 years, primarily based in Mathura. And he had awakened love of Vrindavan and Radha Krishna in so many hearts. And when they heard Gurudev was going, it felt like Krishna was leaving Vrindavan for them. Why? They knew once Gurudev goes, everyone's going to fall in love with him. And, whether he'll come back, when he'll come back, who knows? And also, Gurudev will have so much affection for so many devotees all around the world. Their exclusive time with him now, it's going to be finished. And those devotees from Mathura, would they come to America for the festivals? Would they go to Europe? You think it's so easy for a humble Mathura-wala to buy airfare to America and Europe and Australia? It's like a dream for Indians to fly to the West. And so they felt so much sadness. But look at it from my point of view. Your point of view. Is it good Gurudev came to the West? So Krishna's heart is very soft. Krishna was in Vrindavan dancing in the Ras Leela. Everyone thought, now we've achieved the perfection of life, it will last forever. And what was it like? Just a momentary dream. Sometime after Ratha-yatra, after this Ras Leela, During Ras Leela, I want to mention this point because I'll come back to it later. When Radharani left the rasa dancing, Krishna followed her and he found her. She was in man, in her contrary mood, and Krishna took the subservient role, and he was decorating her feet, putting flowers in her hair, and he prayed with this verse: Smara galala kandanam, mama sirasi mandanam, dehi pada palavam udharam. Radharani, please let me place my head at your lotus feet. I am burning in the agony of separation from you. And Radharani is very happy. She is Swadhin Bhartrika, in control. Very happy in that moment. Krishna is decorating her feet like her manjari. Krishna is putting flowers in her hair. Radharani is very happy. Just thinking, yes, this is very good. This moment is perfect. It will last forever. And then just a little after that, Radharani said, I am tired, Krishna. Will you carry me? And so Radharani, Krishna went down and Radharani was going to get on his shoulders. And in a moment, like a flash, Krishna disappeared. Radharani fell senseless on the ground. This is one example of her separation. And later it was the gopis found her and they developed great respect for Radharani, seeing that her heightened stage of love is greater than anything they could even imagine. Many of these gopis are perfected souls who had taken birth in Vrindavan. And we all have our individual personal relationship with God, which is our rightful property, our birthright. Krishna says, I'm in everyone's heart. We all have an individual relationship with God that's unique and personal. But there are categories. And Radharani and Krishna, they are both the Godhead. And they take two forms only to exchange this feeling of love and meeting and separation. So nothing can compare to her love. Nothing. So this is one example. There's another example. And the reason I'm mentioning this is to also give one reason to help the devotees understand why Krishna also left. Again, trying to help us not put blame on Krishna. So sometime after this, Radharani and Krishna were at the bank of a beautiful lake, and they're on a swing. This is the famous example of, we're not going to go into depth in it. But there's the bee trying to take the nectar of Srimati Radhika's lotus feet that has the fragrance of the most intoxicating flower. And Krishna has Madhu Mangal shoo away the bee, and he comes back and says, oh, don't worry, Radharani, Madhusudan is gone and will never return. And she, hearing just the name Madhusudan, which is a name for the bumblebee, the honeybee, but also a name for Krishna, she experienced separation from him even though she was with him. And she fell senseless in his lap. And it said, Krishna thought, what can I do? Even I am with her. And she experiences separation. In other words, when love comes to this highest state of intensity, it's uncontrollable. It's beyond your control. There may be even the fear of separation may be there in meeting. And that's one of the transitory emotions of love. So this story is part of the inception of Krishna's desire to experience the love of Sri Radha. He thought actually her love is millions of times greater than mine. And her experience of bliss or the joy of her relationship of love with me is also greater than mine. So he desired at that time to taste her moods and understand her love. That's one of the reasons why he came as Mahaprabhu. But it's also one of the reasons of why Krishna decided, or you could say understood, why he had to leave. And there were many reasons why. He also wanted to leave to spread the glories of Vrindavan by showing their love and their extreme stages of separation and absence of his presence. So there are many reasons why Krishna does what he does. But first, he is the Supreme Lord. We are small. ignorant living entities. I have no understanding of his ways. We do not put any blame on him. So then we'll get to the Ratha-yatra topic, but Ratha-yatra is a very joyous festival. But to understand the joy of Ratha-yatra, you also have to understand the pain of separation. The joy of Ratha-yatra is the reunion. And it's described to be like a crescendo of love reunited. And so to understand how great that experience of reunion is, you also have to understand how intense the experience of separation is. So therefore the Bhagavatam tells us the story. Krishna is absorbed in his loving pastimes in Vrindavan. He's forgotten the plight of the world and even why one of the primary reasons he came, which is to help the earth, who is crying out in separation. We talked about this last night. Earth herself had prayed for him to come to relieve her burden from all the evil rulers. And Krishna had promised to come for that reason. But he was so absorbed in his bliss of love in Vrindavan that he forgot all about it. So Narad Muni came to Vrindavan and said, Krishna, do you know Devaki and Vasudeva have been in the prison of Kamsa for 20 years now? And they are being tortured every day by King Kamsa. The evil King Kamsa is torturing them. And Ugrasena is also imprisoned. And so many demons are disturbing everybody, outlawing any practice of devotion or bhakti, torturing anyone who shows any inclination of love and devotion. They're being tortured by these evil people. Krishna, you should come and help. Think about their plight. Krishna's heart is very soft. And after that, Akrura, we heard this story. The messenger was sent by Kamsa to bring Krishna to Mathura. And Kamsa devised this ploy to bring him and to try to kill him in his own land. He thought in Vrindavan, Krishna has some miraculous power that he cannot be defeated. But maybe we can defeat him in Mathura. So Kamsa came up with this scheme to kill Krishna in the wrestling arena. He wanted to kill him even before he entered the wrestling arena with the mad elephant, with different soldiers. So when Akrura arrived and spoke with Krishna and Balaram, Krishna was experiencing many conflicting emotions. Feeling very sad, knowing the condition of Radha and Krishna are one heart. So wherever Krishna is, Radharani can experience that. Wherever Radharani is, Krishna experiences that. You could think of it as her divine intuition. And everyone, word spreads quick in Vrindavan. So even as Uddhava was coming with his chariot into Vrindavan, everyone understood something's up. Radharani remembered this experience at Prem Sarovar. Madhusudan has gone and will never return. And when she fell senseless in Krishna's lap, we think, oh, Radharani, did she understand or not? She's with Krishna, she's meeting Krishna, why is she feeling separation? She took this as like some ill omen. Madhumangal comes back and says, Madhusudan is gone and will never return. It struck her heart like lightning bolts. And she fell senseless in Krishna's lap. And Krishna himself thought, what can I do? So now Akrura has come and he's talking to Krishna and Balaram, and Krishna's heart is very soft. And he described the situation and the suffering of the devotees in Mathura. And so Krishna became angry. How dare that wicked, evil Kamsa do this? I will go at once and destroy him. So he became into that bhav. A bhav means like an emotional state. So when you get caught in a bhav, it's like you're possessed by it. So now Krishna's in this bhav. I will go defeat evil Kamsa, free Devaki and Vasudev, free Ugrasena, destroy all these stupid rascal demons that are disturbing Mother Earth. Mother Earth is also his devotee, and she prayed for him to come. So now Krishna is remembering his responsibilities. It's like Krishna becoming a man. Krishna's thinking, yada yada hi dharmasya, I must do my dharma. Yad yad acharati shrestas. If I give up my duties, what will everyone else do? They will just think, oh, we should all just enjoy life as much as we can, do Rasa Lila every day. They may think like that. So no, I will go and do my duty. But as he's feeling this, it's like his heart is skipping. Because he's feeling this call, like the call to perform his duties. And also the anger, not anger, but this transcendental, righteous anger. These people who are causing so much suffering. So he's ready. He's like, I will go. And when he comes from his conversation with the Krura, and Nanda and Yashoda see him, and they see Krishna's, you could say, what's the word for it? Like his countenance, his appearance, on his face, his mood shifted. There's a shift in Krishna. And they announce that we must go to Mathura, into the wrestling arena. And this news spreads like wildfire. And when the gopis hear it, it's like their worst nightmare coming true. They think Krishna will leave Mathura, leave Vrindavan, go to Mathura. Who knows if he'll ever come back? There's so many, they hear stories of all the beautiful Mathura girls. All these people, and Krishna's heart is so soft. And everyone will show Krishna so much love, and he will not be able to resist. Who's the first example of that? Kubja. Right? Krishna is going to Mathura, and Kubja falls in love with him. And Krishna, makes her very beautiful. And she seduces him. Come to my house. He says, not right now in front of everybody, but I'll come back later. Why? His heart is so soft. He has to reciprocate with his devotees. So the gopis are thinking, Krishna, already in Vrindavan, there's all the different groups of gopis, and they're all competing over Krishna. And now they're thinking, what will happen when Krishna leaves Vrindavan? So it's described that when Radharani hears the news, it sends her into Divyonmad, divine madness. And so many sanchari and vyabhichari bhav, so many different conflicting emotions. It's like her body is in a hurricane. Her mood, her heart, her mind. It's like you're caught up in a hurricane. You don't know what to do, where to go. And she's thinking, will I even be able to see him again before he leaves? I don't want to dwell too long on the sad part of this lila or into the details of it. But Krishna, as he's getting ready to go, you say, like with every step of his preparation, it's getting heavier and heavier. He's like excited to go, but the weight of the expected separation of all the devotees in Vrindavan is making him heavier and heavier and heavier and heavier. It's like he's becoming Jagannath, the Lord of the universe. The weight of the whole universe, of all his responsibilities, is like making Krishna practically immobile. And I'm going to leave it under suspense. Does he even get to see Radharani that night before he goes? Some commentators say Radharani was bound in her in-laws' home because they knew, they were starting to suspect she has some secret love affair with Krishna. So if Krishna's going tomorrow morning, the plan was Krishna will leave in the morning. So we will bind her in her house, not let her go. There are many different pastimes, many different times Radha Krishna performing this Leela. This is a separate topic, right? These stories are told in many different ways because they happen many different times, like for the first time. And it's something they want to relish. So we should remember this is also something they relish. Meeting and separation is ultimately something so relishable, so intoxicating that you keep going back to it. So you can experience that emotion, that mood. But somehow or other, Krishna arranged to try to see and speak with Srimati Radhika that night. What they said, who knows? That is not for this discussion. But the next morning, Krishna's preparing. This is the beginning of the chariot festival. Not the Ratha-yatra, the prelude to the Ratha-yatra. You see? This is the first chariot festival from Vrindavan, leaving. So Ratha-yatra is the celebration, the victory of Srimati Radhika and the Brijabasis. So we'll get to the victory. But before we get to the topic of the victory of Radharani and the Brijabasis, we have to understand why they devised this chariot festival. That we're not just going to let Krishna walk back to Vrindavan. He's going to sit on a chariot like he left us. And he's going to come back to Vrindavan in that chariot. So in the morning time, Krishna is on the chariot with Balaram, and Akrura is taking Krishna away. And all the Brijabasis are following Krishna. And generally, the gopis are very shy. They try to hide their love for Krishna. But it's said at this time, when Krishna is leaving Vrindavan, the intensity of their love for Krishna and the intensity of the expectation of separation from him, the anguish that they experience is so great that it propels them forward to try to stop Krishna from leaving. I'll bring it back to the Rasa Leela just for a moment. Radharani has a contrary mood, and the reason we talk about her man so much is because it's one of her specialities. So in the Rasa Leela, when Krishna returned to the Rasa Leela, many of the gopis very easily forgave Krishna, and they were seated with Krishna and holding his feet to their chest, talking with him very sweetly, but Radharani was at a distance and shooting sidelong, contrary glances towards him. This is how we hear it. But Srila Rupa Goswami says, when Krishna is leaving Vrindavan on the chariot, you asked me actually one time, what's the story of Radharani without Man? So sometimes you can think Radharani would be in Man, oh, Krishna's leaving, I won't go to see him. But she has so much love for Krishna when hearing, and not just hearing, but experiencing in her form, in her mind, in her heart, that Krishna is leaving. She thinks, I have to try to stop him. And so Radharani goes, and all the different groups of gopis actually become like one party. Generally, there's 4 groups of competing gopis. Some are neutral, some are friendly, but then there's especially the Vipaksha and Swapaksha group, competing groups, rivals. And they both compete for Krishna's love and attention. But during this, when Krishna is leaving on his chariot, this is also not like Ratha-yatra, but like the prelude. That means everyone, all the Brijabasis, tens of thousands of people, are all going and trying to convince Krishna not to go. But the gopis, what do? They lay in front of Krishna's chariot and say, if you're going to leave, you have to drive over our bodies. Take our life with you. You are taking your life with us anyway, so might as well just kill us as you go. Some people say, I've heard that there's a description like this, I've heard that it's in one of the Goswami's commentaries. I've read the translations. I haven't seen the Sanskrit. So I'm putting that disclaimer. But it's described that Radharani brought like a sword, like a knife. Said, Krishna, if you leave, I'm going to kill myself. And her anguish. And all the manjaris, imagine their condition. Lalita, Vishaka, Chitra, Champakalata, Ranga Devi, Sudevi, Indulik, imagine their condition. Krishna, do not leave, do not leave, do not leave, please. And Krishna, he's barely able to speak, barely able to talk. Why? He's experiencing their love and their moods. If Krishna wasn't on the chariot, he wouldn't be able to walk. Right? He's become like Jagannath. Jagannath's not able to walk on his own. He has to be carried or put on a chariot. He becomes like a baby, not able to crawl, not able to roll over, not able to walk. So Krishna's on the chariot like Jagannath. Barely able to speak even. And he's just saying, I'll come back. I'll come back. Don't worry, I'll come back. Just a few days. Day after tomorrow. And Krishna is supposed to never speak a lie. He's God. God never speaks lies, Satya Sankalpa. Did he come back the day after tomorrow? Did he ever come back? Somehow or other, Balaram, Ukura, Krishna, all the Brijabasis, they try to convince, and finally, they distract or divert the gopis and make a little way or go around, and they are leaving. And said, Radharani, now where's the contrary mood? Where's her man? And in front of all the Brijabasis, they're not hiding their love for Krishna. They're saying, Krishna, we're taking our life with you. This later in the Ratha-yatra, when Krishna is returning, there's a beautiful verse. Seto parananatha painu jahalagi madana dahane dure genu. So Krishna as Mahaprabhu in the mood of Radha says this verse. This is how you understand the sweet intricacies of their love. That Jagannath Krishna comes as Mahaprabhu with the mood of Radharani to experience her love and to experience what it's like, her feeling of separation. And her mood is like still experiencing that memory. It's like a transcendental trauma almost. She's experiencing, seeing Krishna again on the Rath chariot. That when you left Vrindavan, it's like you ripped out my heart with you, and as you left. Seto parananath painu jaha lagi madana dahane dure genu. For so long, I've been burning in that fire of separation from you. Now I've found you again. But even in that meeting, she's thinking, will I lose you again? Who knows? So as Krishna is pulling away with his chariot, Krishna is trying to speak and console everybody, but he's looking, where's Radharani, where's Radharani? And his eyes are wide open. It's like he's not blinking, like Jagannath. No time to blink. He wants to keep that moment in his heart forever. And it said that Krishna had a stream of tears flowing from both eyes. And as the chariot is going, his face is becoming covered with dust. And his beautiful complexion, it's like the darkest banks of the river Jamuna with the dust on them. Right? Like the banks of the river Jamuna. And the tears are like the river Jamuna falling down his eyes, mixing with his kajal, his mascara, and like a beautiful river Jamuna flowing down his cheeks. And the gopis are just looking at Krishna's face as Krishna disappears into the distance. So in this way, Krishna leaves Vrindavan. So now we'll go to Ratha-yatra, the return. But just to understand the height of the moods of separation, It's said that when the yogis do meditation, like in Satyuga, they do meditation for tens of thousands of years. Tens of thousands of years pass like a moment in their meditation. You go into trance, shantaras, and it's like ages will pass. It's like slowing your breath. Sometimes it will be 100 years in between breaths in Satyuga. Because at that time, their life is in their bones, in that previous age. So you imagine, they're sitting like that and 100 years are passing like a moment. That means they're achieving peace, no divine love. In divine love, when Krishna left Vrindavan, it said that no one left even back to their homes. Radharani and her group of gopis stayed. There's a forest where they were trying to stop Krishna, and they stayed there in that forest. And Radharani went into like samadhi. And so the manjaris, her gopi friends and her handmaidens, they would put out a bed of like lotus petals or rose petals, and the heat of Radharani's body would make it wither in a moment and become like pollen. Not just like dry, but then dry and become powder like ash. And who is serving her? Who is the chief of her servants? Sri Rupa Manjari. So it's said that one time, this is now jumping timelines, but one time Rupa Goswami was sitting in Harikatha, and Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, another one of the Goswamis, was speaking. And he was telling about the moods of separation of Srimati Radhika from Krishna when he left Vrindavan. And the whole audience of thousands of people was crying their eyes out. But Rupa Goswami, towards the front, was not crying. And so after the Harikatha, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami and some of the senior devotees went to see, how is Rupa Goswami? Is he okay? They thought it astonishing that everyone's crying, experiencing, like some of that mood that through the description. But Rupa Goswami is seated motionless. And they came close. His eyes are open, but it's like he wasn't there. And they thought, is he even breathing? So they took a small piece of cotton. They put it under his nose to see if it would move, if there was breath. Because the breath was so subtle. Like how we breathe, right? That the only way you could tell is you put a piece of cotton there, and if it moves, you think there's a little breath. People were thinking, how is it that Rupa Goswami, such a great devotee, is not experiencing love and devotion, not weeping? They're thinking he doesn't have that love. But Rupa Goswami is Rupa Manjari, and just hearing this katha is evoking that experience of Srimati Radhika and separation. Pause. It's okay, Purnima. Okay, we'll continue. So Rupa Goswami is seated there, like in trance. And then 1 minute passes, 2 minutes passes. And then it's described that all of a sudden, the cotton started to smoke and burst into flame. Because as he exhaled a tiny bit from his nose, the heat, internal heat of separation, which is what Srimati Radhika would experience. It said Radharani went into a trance. It's not like she's different stages, different states of this emotion would come. But in trance, every few minutes, the manjaris, Rupa Manjari, would hold that cotton under her nose to see if she's still keeping her life airs. That's why they call Krishna Prananath, the Lord of my life heirs. That as she breathed out, it's like, Krishna, you have left me. Now I'm in an internal fire. And with the breath, that fire came out and caught and burst into flame. So this is the speciality of the Goswamis and those who are internally serving as the maidservants of Srimati Radhika, is that they experience her moods and her emotion, her experience of separation from Krishna. So Radharani is like that, right? And you could think of it, all Krishna's Leela, those decades that passed, for Radharani, it's passing like an endless dream, where she cannot even see the difference between her waking state, her dreaming state. But not like the yogis. For the yogis, 1,000 years passes like a moment. But for Radharani, a moment passes like 1,000 years. So in this way, Radharani is experiencing separation from Krishna. And Krishna's heart is very soft. So even as he is pacifying all his devotees after he killed Kamsa, saved Vasudeva Devaki, Ugrasena, defeated Jarasandha and all his hordes of demons that attacked again and again, established Dwarka and spoke the Bhagavad Gita, was the charioteer for Arjuna, performed all his great heroic exploits, and helped all the devotees, gave his darshan. Still, he was having that internal experience like Jagannath. Barely able, like his heart has become like wood. Right? That means sometimes you have to do your duty. So it's like you steel yourself. So Krishna is doing his duty, doing his service, but yet he's also experiencing, not to the degree she's experiencing, but he's also experiencing Radharani's separation from him and his separation from her. And it's said we should also have some sympathy for Krishna. Radharani is surrounded by her manjaris, and the Sakis, Lita Vishaka, and they're all there trying their best to console each other together. Who does Krishna have who can understand his heart? Everyone else would think, Krishna, what's the problem? So many beautiful girls. So many, you're the great prince and the great hero and everyone loves you and you're so wonderful and you have Dwarka. You don't lack anything. No one could understand. No one could, what are you looking for when you're suffering? A friend who can sympathize with you. Who could sympathize with Krishna? So Radharani also, part of this whole Ratha-yatra is that Radharani's thinking, Krishna is suffering so much, we should try to bring him back to Vrindavan. That's the only thing that will put out his fire of suffering. They're not selfishly trying to bring Krishna back. They didn't try and forcefully bring him back. They didn't go to Mathura and convince him to come back. But as Krishna's separation became more and more and more intense, they thought, we should try to bring Krishna home so he's not suffering so much. Let him finish his duties. When they met in Kurukshetra, Radharani said, aren't your duties finished? Can't you come back? And Krishna said, I am here, you are here. She said, you are the same Krishna, I am the same Radha. But please come back to Vrindavan. My heart is in Vrindavan. Unless you're in Vrindavan, you will not be happy, I will not be happy. Please come back to Vrindavan. So that's how Ratha-yatra starts. The descriptions of Ratha-yatra there in Skanda Puran, Padma Puran, other Puranas, and said that this is how Krishna comes back to Vrindavan. And this Ratha-yatra festival that's going on from Puri, where it started, this is the symbolic return of Krishna to Vrindavan, this festival, this pastime. So actually this is a very joyful festival. But it's the joy of that highest, it said, crescendo of love, where it's like, because Krishna is now returning on the chariot, and we should think, is Radharani there or not? It's like the expected reunion. Radharani is actually not pulling the chariot for Krishna to return. Who is pulling the chariot? All the manjaris, all the other gopis. Radharani is in her kunj. She also has no strength to get up to go and pull Krishna. But she understands, and so she's feeling that. And as Krishna returns, it said as Krishna is returning on the chariot and enters Vrindavan, and Lalita and Vishaka and Rupa and Rati, they whisper in Radharani's ears. They try to revive her. The sense of musk, which is reminding her of the scent of Krishna. And as Krishna is returning, they say, oh, Krishna has returned. Krishna has returned. Krishna has returned. And Radharani, she has no strength to get up and go, but just enough strength to open her eyes. And Krishna is waiting at the doorway of the Kunj, the entrance. He is very shy. It's like Krishna is very, very shy. We see Jagannath. He dresses like a gopi, but he has his shawl, and it's a token of his shyness. It's like his humility. He's very shy. Can I come in? Can I return? And Radharani's eyes meet with Krishna's eyes. And I said that's when Krishna takes on this form of Jagannath. In the ecstasy of their union of their eyes, their meeting of their eyes, Krishna becomes like Jagannath. It means like the transformation of love, which comes to such an extreme state that Krishna takes on this form. And that time everyone begins to sing, Bolo Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite, Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite, Gokula Taruni Mandala Mahite, Gokula Taruni Mandala Mahite, Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite, Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite. So Ratha-yatra is actually a very joyous festival. It's the most beautiful, joyful festival. Why? It's the highest service. Our Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada would say the greatest service for the living entity is to try to bring about the union of the divine couple, Radha and Krishna. And so what are we doing in this Ratha-yatra? Radharani, we don't think, Radharani should pull the chariot. That's not her service. We should bring Krishna on the chariot and pull him back to Vrindavan. And so this is where Radharani's man is served through the manjaris. The manjaris are serving Radharani's man. Why? So how does the Ratha-yatra start? The Daitapatis, they're the group of Jagannath servants who represent the gopis. And they bind Krishna. So they are actually now serving Radharani's man, bringing Krishna back to Vrindavan. So the Daitapatis bind Krishna. You see how Jagannath comes for Ratha-yatra. First he's bound like a prisoner. And then they put armor on his chest and behind him and put more layers. And then Krishna comes out with like a crowd of hundreds of these Daitapatis, and he's swaying like an intoxicated madman. And all the Daitapatis are like using foul language even to rebuke Krishna. As Krishna's coming out as Jagannath, this is from the Ratha-yatra festival in Puri. And Krishna, you can see it's called the Bhandi. Krishna is swaying back and forth as they're bringing him. And they not only are abusing Krishna, but they use like rolled up one kind of tree bark. And they're, sometimes like this. Not fanning Krishna. Like this. Krishna, why'd you leave Vrindavan? Why'd you leave Radharani? No sense. And they use so much gali. Said, if you hear what they say to Krishna, you become shy. You think, how can they speak like that to Krishna? What language they use, we cannot repeat. And there's a verse in scripture that says, Krishna very much appreciates these words where the gopis are chastising him and ridiculing him. He says he prefers that than the stutis of the Vedas. So in this way Krishna comes. He comes onto the chariot, being bound like a prisoner, being rebuked by the gopis who are the Daitapatis. The gopis appear in that form like the Daitapatis. And all the Brahmins who are the side of Lakshmi Devi, because this is the competing interests we're not going to talk about today so much. But there's Lakshmi's party and Radharani's party. And the Brahmins represent Lakshmi's party, and the Daitapatis represent Radharani's party, her group. So during this time of Ratha-yatra, the Daitapatis are the ones serving. And it's like they're going to arrest Krishna and forcefully bring him back to Vrindavan. Because Krishna is always like, oh, I'll go later, I'll go in a few days. He's feeling shy. If I go, how will I go back? He's feeling, like sometimes when lovers and quarreling, who's going to resolve it? Who's going to try to make amends? So Krishna's thinking, how will I go? When will I go? But anyhow, they bring Krishna on the chariot and pull him back to Vrindavan. And in this way, they unite with Radharani again. Krishna, as Mahaprabhu, to experience the moods of Radharani, he is dancing in front of the chariot. And he is calling out, Seto Parananath Painu Jahalagi Madana Dahane Dure Ghenu. Now I've found my life, Prananath, my very life. He's not calling him Jagannath. He can say Jag, Jag. He cannot even complete the name Jagannath. And he's saying Prananath. The gopis, Radharani doesn't call Krishna Jagannath, but she'll call him Prananath. And when Krishna left, she didn't blame him. That's why the verse of Shiksastakam, the 8th verse, is the mood of Radharani. Generally, Radharani has Vamya Bhav. That means a contrary mood, if man. But when Krishna left Vrindavan, what is her mood? Ashlishavapadatang pinastumam adarshanang manamahatang karotuva yata tatav vidadhatu lampato mat prananatastu sa evanapara. You are my prananath. Generally, Radharani is Vamya Bhav, but in this case, this is like Dakshin Bhav, submissive mood. Whether you accept me or reject me, I am yours. You are mine. That is generally Radharani's mood. You are mine. So they are bringing Krishna back to Vrindavan with that mood. You are mine. I will forcefully bring you back to Vrindavan. When he left, they had this mood. I am yours. Even though you have left, I am still yours. So in this way, Krishna comes back. I wanted to speak about the differences and the competing moods between Rukmini and Lakshmi and Radharani and her gopis. But we don't have much time. I'm just going to mention it in brief. Just to give an introduction for a future topic. So Jagannath lives in Dwarka, and Puri is called like Dwarka, but the Gundicha is Vrindavan. But Jagannath is seated with Baladev and Subhadra. Where is Lakshmi? She has her own separate house. And who is next to Jagannath? Sudarshan. And Sudarshan is symbolic of Shakti Tattva and Srimati Radhika. That's why on Radhastami, Sudarshan circumambulates the temple and comes back in like Srimati Radhika. And every day, Jagannath, in the evening, he hears what? Geet Govinda, which is the song of Radharani's love with Krishna. Every day, Krishna wakes up as Jagannath and hears the songs of Radharani and the Brajabasis, sung by Jayadev Goswami and Vidyapati and Chandidas. So Lakshmi is there, but she knows all my opulence cannot equal the love of the gopis and Radharani for Krishna. It said she does not have Samartha Rati, that highest kind of love that is able to capture and conquer the heart of Krishna. So then when Krishna comes back to Vrindavan, we see this in this world, in this Leela. Lakshmi tried to come and serve in Vrindavan and be in the Rasa dance. And what happened? Krishna made her stay outside, across the Jamuna in Belvan. She had her own forest called Belvan, and that's where Lakshmi stays. And she stayed far away. Radharani doesn't let her come in Vrindavan. So Lakshmi Devi, one expansion of Srimati Radhika, but still Lakshmi Devi is staying where? Belvan, outside Vrindavan, and weeping and praying in separation from Krishna. When will you accept me in the Rasa dance? And what does Krishna say? Only if you take birth from the womb of the gopis, only if you make cow dung patties, Only if you accept another cowherd boy as your husband and meet with me in paramour love, then. And Lakshmi's thinking, oh, I am Brahmani, how can I do that? There's this caste competition between Lakshmi Devi and Srimati Radhika. And what is another verse? What service they give Mahalakshmi? The Brahma Samhita is a beautiful verse, the first verse. Right? Chintamani prakara sadma sukalpa vriksha. What does it say? Lakshmi sahasra sambarma sevyamanam. Lakshmi has the service of sweeping the pathways in Vrindavan. Right? Why? This is showing the supreme victory of Srimati Radhika. Ratha-yatra is to show the supreme victory of Srimati Radhika. That is Ratha-yatra, her victory. It's her victory parade. So I just want to glorify now Srila Gurudev and Srila Swami Prabhupada and Ratha-yatra. Srila Swami Prabhupada made this Ratha-yatra worldwide festival, not just one day of the year, but almost every weekend in the summer, and in different countries, and also in the winter, right? In Miami, it's in the winter, right? And in some places, when is LA Rath? That's in the summer. And San Francisco's in the summer. But Miami is in the later, right? In some places in February. Throughout the whole year, I know Durban, South Africa, they do it at a different time. So one of the glories of Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is that he established this Ratha-yatra as like a global festival. And in every town and city, practically, this Ratha-yatra is going on. And this is the glory of Swami Prabhupada, that showing that actually Swami Prabhupada is one of the chief of all the servants of Srimati Radhika, of all her devotees. Why? Because this Ratha-yatra is Radharani's victory parade. That Krishna is coming back to be with Radharani. He is coming back to Vrindavan. Who is doing that seva? Swami Prabhupada is arranging that festival, that everybody who's participating in that Ratha-yatra, even passerby, even the police, even, the city council, everyone is serving the victory of Srimati Radhika, where all the manjaris and all the also different devotees are bringing Krishna by force back to Vrindavan. That Radharani is experiencing this highest form of Swadhina Bhartrika mood, which is where she is, like when we say Jai Radha Madhava. Madhava means Krishna, who is taking on that Dear Lalit Nayaka mood where Radharani is the supreme power. And Krishna is her servant. That means Krishna is in that subordinate mood to her. So Prabhupada is arranging that festival all over the world. So is he helping, serving Srimati Radhika or not? So now Ratha-yatra has 3 parts. And I'm going to explain this with the glories of Swami Prabhupada and Gurudev. There's the beginning Ratha-yatra, that is Ratha-yatra. And then there's the return Ratha-yatra 9 days later. And then there's the middle point, which is Hera Panchami. But Ratha-yatra, what it is Krishna coming back to Vrindavan and meeting with Srimati Radhika, and then they're experiencing the bliss of that reunion and that festival for 5 days. And that's part of the Ratha-yatra Leela. The 5th day is when Lakshmi comes to try to take Krishna back from Radharani. And Lakshmi comes with all her party of Brahmins, and they actually beat up all the Daitapatis, and they beat up the chariot. I've been there in Puri when this happens. She comes at like midnight. And they come and they carry Lakshmi on a golden throne on a palanquin. And they come from the Jagannath temple to the Gundicha temple. And she comes with hundreds of her servants carrying torches. And they come to the Jagannath cart and they're beating the Jagannath cart. And then they enter the Gundicha temple. Where is that Krishna? Where is Jagannath? Krishna said he's going to come back. He's just meeting his aunt. He's going to his Masi's house. But I know he's with the gopis. And Lakshmi by force enters. And what does she see? Krishna sporting with all the gopis, dancing, singing, playing, joking. And Lakshmi Devi feels so much so much anger at that point. But what can she do? She says, I'll come back in a few days. I'm not going to come back now. Krishna, he is not controlled completely by Lakshmi. So he says, Lakshmi, go back. I'll come back in a few days. But when he comes back, that Ratha-yatra, when he comes back, we should think In that Ratha-yatra, Radharani also comes back with him. That return Ratha-yatra, Radharani and Krishna come back together. And that return Ratha-yatra is also described to be like Krishna and Radharani going back to the spiritual world. Why? Krishna comes back as Jagannath and immediately Chaturmasya starts. Only like 4 or 5 days later. And Krishna says, oh, now I'm just going to sleep. Sayan Ekadashi. Not even 5 days later. Sayan Ekadashi immediately happens, right? Then it's Purnima, like 4 or 5 days later. So as soon as Jagannath comes back, Sayan Ekadashi, Hari Sayan, he said, I'm taking rest. He doesn't talk with Lakshmi, he doesn't do anything. He just goes into his internal samadhi and goes to Vrindavan. Radharani and Krishna, it said that after that, that return Ratha-yatra is symbolic of Radharani and Krishna going to eternal Vrindavan, the transcendental realm. And so then the Krishna that stays here is just Jagannath. Saying, oh, it's just like my body. My supreme self, I have returned to Vrindavan. That is Sayan Ekadashi. And then Guru Purnima comes. So we just celebrated Guru Purnima. What is Purnima? Guru Purnima. That is, why is it the full moon? What is the full moon doing? The full moon is reflecting the sunlight, right? So for us, in our line as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the full moon of Guru Purnima is symbolic of the Manjaris, who are our Guru's line, fulfilling the heart's desire of Srimati Radhika by bringing Krishna back to Vrindavan. And therefore those Gurus become like the full moon. That means, what does it mean? Is they're reflecting her love, experiencing her moods. The Guru Purnima means, why is it not Guru Astami? Why is it Guru Purnima? That the Guru, all our different Gurus, they're all worshipped on this day of Guru Purnima. And when is it happening? Only 4 or 5 days after Ratha-yatra. Ratha-yatra, the return Ratha-yatra was July 5th. And then Guru Purnima was what? Just the other day, like July 10th, right? Like 5 days afterwards. And 4 days before that is Sayan Ekadashi. So Krishna returns and immediately says, now I'm going to sleep. And he sleeps for 4 months, Chaturmasya. Only after 4 months does he wake up. That whole 4 months he's in Vrindavan. So this is Radharani's victory. Even when he looks like he's back in Dwarka, he's really, really with Srimati Radhika and Vrindavan in his spiritual manifestation. So, I just want to glorify our Gurudev and Prabhupada. Guru Purnima is when we worship Gurudev, we worship Prabhupada. Look at their service. Prabhupada established this Ratha-yatra all over the world. That knowingly or unknowingly, everyone is serving Srimati Radhika. This is the internal purpose of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness, you could think of it as, it has like a hidden name. The International Society for the Servants of Srimati Radhika. Okay? Okay? Everyone is serving Srimati Radhika, knowingly or unknowingly. You see? Prabhupada established his society in such a way that everyone is going to serve Srimati Radhika's purpose. Why? I want to mention one other idea about the return Ratha-yatra. We have time left? All right? I know it's getting late, but this is what happens at your house. Oh, it's only 1 hour. Okay. So, everyone in ISKCON, everyone is serving Srimati Radhika. So, I want to give you an idea about return Ratha-yatra. The first part of the Ratha-yatra is Krishna returning to Vrindavan, right? And then there's the 9 days that go between it, and then there's this battle for Krishna, which is when Lakshmi Devi comes in the middle. But then the return Ratha-yatra, we should think of it in one other way. Yes, Krishna is returning out of Vrindavan, you could say. But actually, what's going on? Guru Purnima, what is Guru Purnima? All our gurus in our line, see, Guru Purnima, whichever the guru is, whichever lineage they're in, they're reflecting their Ishvar. So this is one way I'm helping us understand Guru Purnima. Guru Purnima, the full moon of Guru, is doing what? Reflecting the sunlight of their Ishvar. That means their deity, their personified Lord. So for example, like Sadguru, Shiva worshipper. So he's like, if you worship Sadguru on Guru Purnima, what is he doing? Reflecting the light of Lord Shiva in this world. Becoming tadatmic with Lord Shiva. Right? He's embodying that mood, that energy, that service. Establishing the glories of Lord Shiva in this world. So there are some gurus who are kind of worshipping Bhagavan, Krishna. Some gurus worshipping Shiva. But in our line, all our gurus, which light are they reflecting? Which sun are they reflecting? Only the moods and the love of Srimati Radhika. And the desire to serve Srimati Radhika. And our Swami Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada is the chief of them in this world. Why? That founder Acharya of ISKCON who's making everyone Krishna conscious, following in the footsteps of Srimati Radhika. So he is the chief of the maidservants of Srimati Radhika. Whether he is maidservant or coward boy, ultimately it makes no difference because he is serving the reunion of Radharani and Krishna. And what is he doing when he is doing the return Ratha-yatra? What does that mean? Okay, Krishna is back in Vrindavan with Radharani, but the return Ratha-yatra is what? I will establish temples everywhere in this world where Radha and Krishna will be forever united. That is Guru Purnima. You see? Where did Prabhupada? Prabhupada said, no, it's not enough that, Krishna is with Radharani in Vrindavan. Krishna will be with Radharani in London. And it will be Sri Radha, London Ishvara. Not only that, Radharani will be with Krishna in Hastinapur, New Delhi. And that Krishna who is Partha Sarathi, the chariot driver of Arjuna, that Krishna also belongs to Radharani. Sri Radha Partha Sarathi. Everywhere. Even, so Los Angeles, they call Krishna Rukmini Dwarkadish. But if it's Rukmini Dwarkadish, why is Krishna playing a flute and why does he have a peacock feather in his hair? There's no evidence that Krishna played the flute out of Vrindavan or wore a peacock feather out of Vrindavan. There's no evidence. Maybe peacock feather, but no evidence. And definitely no flute. So look, indirectly, because one time it said, Prabhupada said, no, why are you calling Rukmini Dwarkadish? They said, no, Los Angeles, it should be like New Dwarka. Prabhupada let it go, but why? It's like, Lakshmi's Rukmini, because Rukmini is one form of Lakshmi. She has to witness Radharani and Krishna meeting. And even that people are calling them Rukmini Dwarkadish, but it's Radha Krishna. You see? Everyone's saying Jai Rukmini Dwarkadish, but who is it really? Radha Krishna? So it's like adding insult to injury. Right? It's Radha Krishna experiencing their love, but saying in Dwarka with the name Rukmini Dwarkadish. This is the glorious Swami Prabhupada. All over London, there's also Radha, is it Paris Ishwar? Is that the name? Sri Radha Paris Ishwar? I don't know for sure. But you see, this is the shadow op. Everyone's seeing it's about Krishna. It is about Krishna. But it's just as much about Srimati Radhika. You understand? International Society for Krishna Consciousness is also the International Society for the servants of Srimati Radhika. Everyone. And some people, so now this brings Gurudev into it, Prabhupada said, Gurudev should give my samadhi. It's very controversial. At that time, not, because everyone was young and they didn't know anything what to do. So, Gurudev gave Prabhupada samadhi. Not Srila Govinda Maharaj. There's everyone, some were there serving and assisting, but it said who gives samadhi, it's one kind of successorship. In our Gaudiya tradition, it's a very sacred rite. It's, the person who gives samadhi for a sannyasi, they draw the Gopi Bhav mantra on the body. Gurudev drew the Gopi Bhav mantra, which is the sannyas mantra in Prabhupada's form. Right? That sacred rite of samadhi is given by Gurudev. And Prabhupada told all his disciples, you should follow him like Shiksha, like your guide. That is like the moon to Prabhupada's sun. Gurudev was Shiksha Guru for the world. So some gurus also reflect the son of Guru. That's our Bhakta Bandhav mission also. Bhaktabandhav mission is about Gurudev. It's not about Krishna, not even directly about Radharani. It's about Gurudev. That Gurudev is reflecting Radharani and Prabhupada is reflecting Krishna. And that's how we have a complete succession. Prabhupada's mission supported by Gurudev's mission, supported by the mission about the Gurus. Our mission is about Gurudev and Prabhupada. That's a Bhaktabandhav mission. Right? About both our Gurus. It's not the Krishna consciousness mission, it's the Guru consciousness mission. How to have bhakti not about devotion to Krishna, we're about devotion to Gurudev and devotion to all the devotees. That's the Bhaktabandhav mission. But look, Gurudev gave samadhi, Gurudev helped, in the court cases, Gurudev helped save ISKCON. Not just that, but there's many examples of how Gurudev helped. From 1977 to 1994, when he was banned. But even before that, when Prabhupada was first in America, they wrote hundreds of letters back and forth. They were very, very dear friends. But after Gurudev was banned, this is also their Leela. And when Gurudev was banned, he said, now you have awoken, sleeping lion. I will go everywhere and establish the glories of Srimati Radhika and the moods of Vrindavan. Why? Many people had become attracted by opulence and position and temples, and that Dwarka mood had seeped into the culture, and many people were also suffering from the lack of pure leadership. So everyone was suffering. Gurudev came to be like Balaram coming back to Vrindavan when the devotees are in separation from Krishna. Gurudev didn't come to disturb or destroy or harm. He came only to help. And he did help. But not everyone can recognize that help. So our Gurudev said, I will not just make temples in this world, I will make temples in everyone's heart. That's Gurudev's unique contribution. But our mission is that to specifically glorify our Gurus, that in our mission, Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj, and Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, they are the two acharyas. And if we want peace and harmony in the whole world of Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the best method for that peace formula is everyone should recognize the position of Swami Prabhupada and Srila Gurudev. Every acharya has a unique offering. Swami Prabhupada established the Hare Krishna movement as a worldwide Hare Krishna kirtan all throughout the world. And Gurudev helped people understand the moods of pure bhakti and how you could develop that in your heart and understand the glory of the position of Srimati Radhika. It's through Srila Gurudev that people can understand Srimati Radhika, her position, her prominence, and enter into her service. He's authorized to do that. Other acharyas would say, we are not authorized to speak like he does, but Srimati Radhika specifically gave Gurudev that permission, that right, that instruction to spread her glories and the path to enter her service. So that's our Gurudev's mission. If people want peace, then there should be a picture of Gurudev in every ISKCON center. And there should be a picture of Swami Prabhupada in every Gaudiya Mat. This is the formula for peace. Will it happen? No. But I'll give you one argument why it should happen in due course of time. Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, the founder of this present lineage of Gaudiya Vaishnavas in Mahaprabhu's line, he said, we follow the Bhagavat Parampara. Pure devotees in each generation who are the most prominent acharyas, we recognize them as our parampara, not always the Diksha lineage. And he was the one who did that, and we're disciples in his line. He was opposed for this. They tried to kill him for this. That was one of the reasons they tried to kill him, because of his establishment of Bhagavat Parampara. And who's in the Bhagavat Parampara? Undoubtedly, without beyond argument, you would say, that is Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada after Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, and after Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj. It's actually, if you want to have a debate about it, you will lose. It's beyond debate. Meaning you can debate it, but you will lose. You'll be debating to lose. That's the Bhagavat Parampara. In the future, another great acharya will come. But the Bhagavat Parampara in this succession, coming from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhagavat Parampara is who? Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, not his Diksha Guru. Vipin Bihari Goswami is Diksha Guru, but Bhagavad Parampara says no, it's Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Then Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj, not Diksha, his Diksha Guru is not Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So the line is, who is the Mahabhagavat, pure devotee, who has a special task given by Radharani or Krishna to establish something in this world? That went to Swami Prabhupada, from Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada. And then from Swami Prabhupada came to Srila Gurudev. He in an assisting role. Not to, be the initiating guru in ISKCON. That was meant for the disciples of Swami Prabhupada. But to guide, to shine a light like the moon. When you're in the darkness, when in the absence of the sun, which was Prabhupada, the moon will shine a light. Reflect the light of. But if you want a dark moon night, no moon, then you're going to be lost in darkness. Gurudev was the moon to Prabhupada's sun. So therefore, I want to end with this point. Our duty as disciples, Ebe Jas Gusuk Tribhuvan, to spread the glories of that golden moon. Our Gurudev, our Swami Prabhupada. To do that, we have to realize the glories in our heart and follow. Gurudev would say, become Krishna conscious yourself. So we try to develop that Krishna consciousness. It's our primary seva. But we should try to understand his position and his glories. He said, I've come to teach you the depth. Swami Prabhupada has shown you like the peak of the glory of this line, this tradition. But as high as it is, as deep it is. Gurudev would say, I've come to teach you the depth of the glories of Swami Prabhupada, his spiritual position and his glories. So without Gurudev's mercy, also if we neglect Gurudev or make offense to Gurudev, it hardens our heart. It creates a block in the development of bhakti. And we can continue to have external glory and external development, but we will not develop the moods of pure bhakti, of pure devotion. We cannot enter Vrindavan like that. We don't have to accept Srila Gurudev and take shelter, but there should be genuine love and affection and devotion and respect. Instead, what is happening? People who show any respect for Gurudev get kicked out or banned. This is not past history, it's present history. A lot of Prabhupada's disciples were kicked out of the temples they paid for by their efforts, by their book distribution. I know so many Prabhupada disciples who had given their life to the mission to collect and build those temples, and they were kicked out just for keeping a book of Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Swami Maharaj. Just for mentioning his name. Right? So we should understand this. And Gurudev came to help us understand the inner moods and the glory of Swami Prabhupada, his position. I want to mention one more thing. But it's escaping me now. So anyhow, on Guru Purnima, we offer our pranam again and again to the lotus feet of Srila Gurudev, Srila Swami Prabhupada. Pray for their mercy. We should not think Gurudev is gone, Prabhupada is gone, these acharyas are gone, they are very present, this is their mission. So we pray at the dust of their lotus feet again and again for their mercy, for their compassion, for them to accept us. We pray to Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, we pray to Srimati Radhika, to Sri Krishna Chandra. May they be merciful upon us, may they be pleased with us. May they shine their mercy upon us. May we progress in this path of bhakti. All right, there's so many more things to say. I'll wait for another date. Thank you to this beautiful space, Samarpan Sanctuary, dear devotees here. Thank you for being here. All right, so I had many other things to mention, but time is escaping us, so we'll end here. Vanchakalpatribhasya kripa sindhuvevacha patitani pavanebhyo Vaishnava Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Shri Ratha-yatra ki Jai.